This is the Arena, and I'm Samson Olede. Good afternoon and welcome. It is the 20th day of December, 3 days to the end of the year, 3 days after Christmas. So there's so much to look forward to, especially in the world of sports. Remember, we would start with, boxing. I'm talking about the very best from boxing. Well, let's start with Gervonta Davis, and that's the boxing superstar, a former protege of Floyd Mayweather Jr., who has been arrested and jailed, and that's not a good news coming from his camp, especially as he's just 12 days away from fighting, in Washington, D.C. Gervonta Davis was arrested and jailed on domestic violence charge of battering, causing bodily harm, and he was remanded in prison he was arrested at Parkland, Florida, and he was remanded in the custody at Broward County's main jail bureau. Now, it must be said that he should be appearing in court right about now due to time difference. So he should be appearing in court today, Wednesday, and no bond has been set yet for him. The 28-year-old, remember, is set to fight on the 7th of January in Washington against Hector Luis Garcia, which is meant to be a prelude to the super fight that is to take place on the 25th of April against Ryan Garcia, and that's a bout that so many people have been looking out for. But for Davis, it's not looking good. He has other legal battles as well, as he's set to appear before the Baltimore Circuit Court on the 16th of February for his alleged involvement in an unrelated hit-and-run incident in November 2020, and this he was accused of fleeing the scene of that accident that involved 4 people, including a pregnant woman. He is facing 14 charges, including failure to immediately return and remain at the scene of accidents involving bodily harm. He's also facing a civil suit as a result of that incident. Now, as I said earlier, this is a separate incident, while the one he's arrested and jailed for has to do with domestic violence bordering on battery that caused bodily harm. This is not looking good for this man at all, and it now puts in doubt his fight against Hector Luis Garcia on the 7th of January, as well as the bout against Ryan Garcia on the 25th of April. The 28-year-old recently left Mayweather Promotions to run his own affairs in terms of commanding his media presence and promotion of his fights, among others, including the monetary aspect of things. One would hope that he's able to put his head in the right place in terms of conduct and stay out of trouble, as it were. But it is what it is. Let's see if the bout against Hector Luis Garcia on the 7th of January will go ahead. But if he's found guilty, he'll probably have to serve time, and that may mean that bout will be called off, and also puts into question the super fight against Ryan Garcia on the 25th of April. Well, we wish him the best. Let's move away from there and let justice, take its course. Let's turn our attention now to the very best of basketball. The regular season is really heating up as teams are jostling for that playoff spot. And the action we had this morning saw several teams and superstars stepping up to the plate. For the Los Angeles Lakers, they had lost 4 on the row, but they couldn't lose the 5th one, as LeBron James said no, and this time around it was against the Orlando Magic. That ended in favor of the Lakers, 129 to 110 points, as LeBron James top scored for the Lakers with 28 points, also gathered 7 boards and dished out 5 dimes in there. The win takes the Lakers to 14 wins and 20 losses to the start of the season. Yes, it was also the 6th successive game that Anthony Davis is missing due to a foot stress injury, and during his absence, the Lakers, went 1-5. He will miss 3 more weeks, and he will be reevaluated afterwards. But on the courts, you had Thomas Bryant scoring 21 points and 10 rebounds. You had Russell Westbrook with a triple-double of the 15 points, 13 rebounds, and 13 assists as well, while Lonnie Walker, the 4th, added 8 points for the Lakers. For the Orlando Magic, it wasn't a good scoring night for them. You had Marshall Fultz with 16 points, Franz Wagner with 15 points, Wendell Carter Jr. as well scored 15 points, while rookie star Paolo Banchero, who was the #1 pick of the 2022 draft class, was limited to just 4 points, and he also amassed 5 fouls in between. You had Jalen Suggs missing a 16th straight game for the Magic, and that's a result of a sprained right ankle. So the Magic now have 13 wins and 22 losses to the start of the season. Not looking good for them at all. The next take on the Detroit Pistons. That's the worst team in the NBA this season, and that matchup will be on Wednesday night. While for the Los Angeles Lakers, they'll be taking on the Miami Heat later tonight. Remember, LeBron James played for the Miami Heat and also led them to 4 successive NBA Finals, winning 2 out of it. So it's a return home you want to see in that sense for LeBron James. Well, away from that, let's talk about the defending champions of the NBA. That's the Golden State Warriors. No Curry, no problem, as long as you have one of the Splash brother. Klay Thompson was hooping all night, and he scored 29 points, amassed 5 rebounds, and dished out 4 assists as the Warriors ran out 110 to 105 point winners over the Charlotte Hornets. And that was a game that had Jonathan Kuminga impressing, especially with the absence of Andre Iguodala. Kuminga had 14 points and 5 rebounds, was quite instrumental on both sides of, or both ends of the court rather, and you have to give him credit. Jordan Poole continued his rich vein of scoring with 24 points and 6 assists, while you had Kevin Looney contributing 11 points and 9 rebounds to the cause of the Warriors. It was the 6th game in succession that Steph Curry missed as a result of his shoulder injury, and is expected to miss at least 2 to 3 weeks more due to that injury. For the Charlotte Hornets, you had LaMelo Ball scoring 21 points, having 10 rebounds. Terry Rozier with 19 points in there, not forgetting Mason Plumlee, who contributed 13 boards to the Hornets' cause. But the loss condemns them to just 9 wins and 26 losses to the start of the season. Meanwhile, for defending champions, it's not been a very good title defense, a very good start rather to their title defense, as they are now 17 wins and 18 losses to the start of the season. Let's move away from there, but still talking basketball. Let's talk about the man of the moment, the leading scorer in the NBA this season. Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks, 60 points, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists in a triple-double. He is the first player in NBA history to amass a 60-point triple-double. He is the only 7th player to amass a 50-point triple-double, and the young Slovenian definitely has more in store, barring any career-threatening injury. The Mavericks, 126 to 121 points, overtime winners against the New York Knicks. As I said earlier, Luka Doncic was unplayable all through, and he also forced the overtime when he deliberately missed a free throw, hitting it against the backboard just to gather it back and force overtime when the scoreline was 115 to 113 in favor of the Knicks with just few seconds left. And that's the Mavericks' 4th straight win, and they are now 6th when it comes to the Western Conference standings. You had Spencer Dinwiddie contributing 25 points to the cause of the Mavericks as well, but it was Luka Doncic who stood out with his MVP performance. Historic, it must be said. No other player in the history of the NBA has scored a 60-point triple-double. This man is unique, it must be said. For the Knicks, Quentin Grimes scored 33 points surprisingly. Julius Randle had 29 points and 18 rebounds, but this was a Knicks team that was hit with several injuries even prior to the game. Jalen Brunson couldn't make a return to the Mavs as he battled with hip injury, while RJ Barrett suffered a cut finger just 96 seconds into the game and had to exit as a result of that injury. The loss puts the Knicks at 18 wins and 17 losses to the start of the season, while for the Dallas Mavericks, there are 19 wins and 16 losses to the start of the season. As I said earlier, they are 6th, firmly on course for a playoff spot, as it were. Well, if you're caught napping, you definitely have to pay the price in sports, and that's what you had Nottingham Forest pay right there for Manchester United. It was a well-worked corner kick and one out of the play group, it must be said, or the playbook rather, it must be said. That was just the training ground move, the corner kick into the box, and then Rashford with the half volley, if you want to say, or just the stroke into the corner. Manchester United winning, but let's start with Chelsea Football Club. Yes, you saw Kai Havertz score the first goal for Chelsea Football Club. They ran out convincing winners 2-0 over Bournemouth. It could have been more. Bournemouth's goalkeeper making several stunning saves to keep his side at bay. Raheem Sterling was a menace all through the night. You had Kai Havertz as well doing his thing. Mason Mount had a very good game as well. Could have even scored more, but Mount scored the second goal for Chelsea as they ran out 2-0 winners. But this came at a cost as they lost Reece James once again to knee injury, and this will definitely be a huge concern to so many Chelsea football fans, rather, including Graham Potter, the coach of the side, because it is the same knee injury that kept him out of the World Cup and has ruled him out of play for the last 10 weeks. That same knee injury has been aggravated, and it's the same surface, according to Graham Potter, the coach, the same surface, the same spot. You know what that means. It's not looking too good. If there are stitches, it means that the stitches have probably opened up again, as it were. We do not know the extent of the injury this time around, but Graham Potter has stated that James Reece will be evaluated within the next 24 to 48 hours. So before Friday, there should be clarity concerning how long it will be on the sidelines, but not looking too good for the 23-year-old who had to miss the World Cup as a result of that injury. Arguably England's best right back that we've seen over the last 2 years. Quite dismal or shameful, as it were, that it has to go through the StarTimes. But it comes with sports, the wear and tear on the body, injuries. It's what Chelsea will have to battle with. But for Chelsea Football Club, it's also good news because the win is their first in 6 matches. Remember, before the World Cup break, they were winless in 5 matches. In fact, they lost 3 successive games. So this is a win for them. Their first win in 6 games, their first win as well over the course of the last 4 games where they had lost 3 of them. So it looks good for them. The win now pushes them to 8th. They were 9th before the match. They are now 8th on the Premier League table with 24 points from 15 games. They are still a massive 16 points behind league leaders Arsenal Football Club. So for Chelsea Football Club, the goal is not the league title at this point. It's a push for the top 4, but that's also a huge task on their hands because they are 5 points behind rivals Manchester United, who are sitting 5th, out of the Champions League spot. Let's see if Graham Potter can make it happen. But it's a good one for them to get their first win in 6 games and then put a halt to 3 successive losses, as it were. Moving away from that, let's talk about Manchester United. Old Trafford, definitely it is the first game, or it was the first game rather, after the whole Ronaldo saga. Remember the bombshell interview with Piers Morgan and the mutual termination of contract that followed afterwards. So this time around, the first game didn't come with any drama. United were back in business, and Marcus Rashford scored the opening goal for Manchester United before Anthony Martial added a quick second and Fred added a late third to ensure that Manchester United ran out 3-0 winners against Nottingham Forest. For Nottingham Forest, it definitely doesn't look good for them at this point in time. While for Manchester United, the win moves them to 5th on the Premier League standings, 29 points from 15 games, although they are still outside the Champions League spots, as it were. For Rashford, the goal was his 10th goal this season in 21 games, and is definitely getting back to form. His best season at Manchester United was the 2019-2020 season, where he scored 22 goals in all competitions. So he's 12 goals away from that mark, 13 from surpassing it, and there are still so many matches to play. Who says Marcus Rashford can't surpass his best season in a Manchester United shirt? But for now, it's looking good. Erik ten Hag is making the right decisions. Let's see if they can continue in that trend. Let's move away from there and preview today's game. Yes, Manchester City will be in action against Leeds United, and that's at Elland Road. It's all about Erling Haaland leading the charge once again. Remember, Manchester City ran out 3-2 winners against Liverpool, and that was the Carabao Cup action we saw days ago. So it shows you that fatigue isn't an issue. Kevin De Bruyne, serving the goods in that game. You had Haaland scoring. He didn't play at the World Cup, so he's not, in any way fatigued. It will definitely be up and running, and it should lead the lines in terms of City's offensive outlets against Leeds United. For Leeds United, well, it's a huge task on their hands. They are 15th on the Premier League standings with 15 points from as many games, and they from 14 games, I beg your pardon, 15 points from 14 games, and they can't afford to lose this one because it will mean that they will probably slip down the bottom of the Premier League standings. For Manchester City, it's a must-win game for them. They are currently third on the Premier League standings with 32 points from 14 games, and they are 8 points behind league leaders Arsenal. They need to win this to reduce the gap to 5 points, which it was before Arsenal won 2 days ago. So the pressure is on City to deliver. The big question is, can Pep Guardiola and his men deliver in terms of getting the goals? Well, Kevin De Bruyne, we saw him, he looks sharp against Liverpool during the Carabao Cup fixture, so it doesn't look like fatigue is an issue for City and their stars. Remember, you have Bernardo Silva in the mix as well, but Erling Haaland should lead the charge. Julian Alvarez is definitely out of this one because he's still celebrating and has extra days off. Talking about the Argentine who played a very instrumental part in Argentina lifting their third World Cup trophy this time around in Qatar. So it's Leeds United against Manchester City. Let's see if Leeds United can throw a spanner in the works of Manchester City, or it will be another routine win for City to be able to close the gap on Arsenal. Remember, the Premier League title race is heating up, but the Gunners are in firm position to make a title for themselves in terms of their first title in over a decade. It will be intriguing to see how they do that, but Mikel Arteta and his men know that they still have their work cut out even with this star-studded Manchester City side. That's how much we can take on today's edition of the show. It's been The Arena, and I'm Samson Lady. Do have a blessed day.